everyone. Thank you for being patient as we kick off our first webinar of 2024. My name is Holly McPhail, and in a few minutes, you'll actually see a slide that identifies the Florida After School team, and we'll take a moment to introduce ourselves. But we are especially excited about our partnership with WFSU to support a lot of the work that they're doing. And I won't steal Tasha's thunder, but I do want to just take a quick moment to introduce you to who Florida After School is, if this is the first time that you've ever attended this a webinar with us, and give you the opportunity to meet members of our team and tell you a little bit about all of us. So if you're new to Florida After School, we are the united voice of after school across the state of Florida. So what that means when we say after school really is out of school time, before school, after school, summer school, Saturday school, all of those different types of programming that occurs outside of the typical classroom in those hours of, 8 to 3 or whatever that might be. We really at Florida After School work to support not only the entire community, but direct supports for practitioners as we work to promote quality, enhance collaborations between public and private partners, as well as be the voice and advocate for the entire profession, because we believe that after school is not just babysitting or a safe place for your kids to go. It is actually where a lot of the crux of youth development occurs. And we know that if you have high quality supports in after school, that those children and youth participating will do far better in their traditional schooling. They have better academic gains, they have less risky behaviors, and they are developing competencies in that social, emotional, workforce ready skill development space that is so crucial for the jobs of tomorrow. So we're excited to, I think it's a perfect segue to talk about this space that we're in and worlds of work, and what does that mean when we say jobs of tomorrow. And we have embarked upon a very exciting partnership at the national level with STEM Next, which previously was the Noyce Foundation, where they have funded something called the Million Girl Moonshot. And really what that is a multi-year initiative that seeks to engage 1 million girls across this nation in STEM learning opportunities through these after school and out of school time learning opportunities. The idea is that typically these jobs of tomorrow we know are going to fall in these STEM fields, and they are woefully underrepresented by girls. That said, the programming that we do is all inclusive. It is not just for girls. MGM is for all students, and so you'll hear us refer to it as MGM. We are not talking about that cool playground in Orlando. No, we are in fact talking about the Million Girl Moonshot. And through the partnership of STEM Next with our 50-state network, which is one of our collaborative partners here in Florida, that's how we're able to bring this funding and these opportunities right here in Florida. And part of that is to develop these really robust partnerships. And we were very, very lucky to partner with WFSU, which is the PBS station up in the north. But again, I'm not going to steal Tasha's thunder. She's going to talk a little bit more about who FSU is, how it relates to the STEM work that we're doing, and then introduce some of the team members. So with that, I will invite Tasha up to the virtual stage and turn it over to Tasha. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Holly. It really is like our partnership with Florida After School Inc. couldn't be better, because we all understand that providing the foundational knowledge comes first. So some of the content that we're going to share with you today, it is for littles, and it goes increasingly up as we talk about jobs of the future, jobs actually that are here now, and what we can do to support the building of skills and foundational knowledge and ways to reach out to other folks that are in careers that your students might be interested in. So lots of great things to share. Let me go ahead and, if you'll forward the slide, Holly. Thanks. So here's us. I know Holly introduced herself. We also have with us Lily Murphy, who is the Executive Director of Florida After School. Lily, do you want to say a quick hi?
Hey everyone, so glad to have you with us today.
Thanks. And we also have Shelby. Shelby's under the weather, but she has joined us, but we won't ask her to speak. And then with me on my team, I'm Leah Moore. Lauren Penniman, Ryan Lynn, and we have our wonderful intern with us as well, Madison Rushing. So we are all here and we can answer questions along the way and hope to make this as interactive as possible. So let's move on. First thing is we are part of a large, extensive network of public media stations across the United States. And if you've been to one public media station or have belonged to one or participated in one, you have truly been to one public media station. We all do things very independently, and we very much reflect the community that we engage with and the issues and topics and all of the wonderful partnerships. We focus on those in our local area, make it hyper focused. So it's serving our communities. Here in Florida, it's especially focused, hyper focused. We have a little interactive that Leah's going to share in just a second. These are all the stations that are throughout our state, and we are all independent from one another, but we do collaborate on projects throughout the year and share information, especially for us at WFSU, because we have a statewide project with our Ready to Learn grant. We'll be sharing about that as we go through the presentation a little more too. Okay, Leah's working on it. And we'll have a QR code. We are experimenting with Mentimeter today. So there'll be a QR code or a numerical code that you can hold up to this with your phone or punch in the numbers in a text message, and it'll pop up a list of questions that we'll be referring to today. In the meantime, if you would please write the station that you're with that's closest to you in the chat, and we can capture the information that way too. So we'll jump into a brief history of education in our country. So that's the next slide. Okay, thank you. I know it's terrible. Here's this picture, and I'm going to read from the slide, but I think this is very important, especially in our state. We've had a lot of changes to education, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. Across our nation, we've seen a real heightened awareness about curriculum. We have a lot more school choice available to our families and students. So I want to sum it up. In the early years of our nation, schooling was very haphazard. Many children were excluded because of income, race, or ethnicity, gender, and geographic location, and many other reasons. And I think some of that is still reflected today in spite of public schools. We have a lot of different situations going on, but it's wonderful that our public school system is still here and thriving so that we can do our very best to level out the playing field and provide children with that foundational knowledge that they so desperately need. The children who did receive instruction were primarily white, and they were educated through a hodgepodge of arrangements. So next slide, please. By the mid-1800s, most states had accepted three basic assumptions that governed public education: that schools should be free of charge, supported by taxes, and that teachers needed to be trained, and that children should be required to attend school. And this still is the system that we have today. You know, teachers are trained. We have a lot of requirements. This presentation itself is teacher professional development and why you all are participating in this. And that children are required to attend school. And again, you've probably heard we have truancy issues, and that's another space that many of us in education are tackling and really trying to make sure children attend, because every time they miss a day, they miss. And the more they're at school, the better it is. Next slide. And the overall reason for all of this education focus in our country is that we're preparing people for democratic citizenship. Our founding fathers maintained that the success of the fragile American democracy depends on the competency of its citizens. and that preserving democracy requires an educated population that can understand political and social issues, that they'll participate in civic life, vote wisely, protect their rights and freedoms, and resist tyrants and demagogues. And this is all part of our Constitution and the reason why our public institutions exist. So that was all compiled with a little help of artificial intelligence, which again, we're going to talk about later on in the presentation. All of us here knows that our education landscape is constantly changing, but public media is public education, and we are free, we are trusted, and very well researched. On to the next slide, please. Guess I could do it too, right? This is actually an almost 5-minute long video. You can find it on YouTube. It's called Did You Know? We're going to watch just a smidgen of it, but I really encourage you to watch the whole thing when we finish with this presentation. It's chock full of information that will truly make you think, I didn't know that. And let's watch a little bit of it. Okay, we will encourage you all to finish watching it. It is chock full of incredible information. And I'm sure you are already thinking, oh my goodness, that's true. And we are all now challenged with this huge task of making sure children are prepared to accept and thrive in these jobs of the future. I love this slide. I think it's really interesting that we are in this fourth industrial revolution, and we've come a long way from the mechanization of manufacturing and steam power at the beginning of the century, now to robotics, artificial intelligence, actually being able to make and generate things that you can hold in your hand through 3D printing, digitalization, automation. It's changing the fabric of our lives. And next slide. So how do we do it? Let's talk about that. Next slide. I don't think I can just hit it. Okay, just a little quick reminder. Some of us will remember or have watched our reruns that here's some old-fashioned skills. Let's just watch a little bit of Fred. The volume's a little wonky on this, and we can stop it now. Thank you. The thing that's great about the Flintstones is the whole sequence that children would have seen when the show was first created. It started with Fred leaving work. So right off the bat, you had, you work in a quarry with a dinosaur, which is so interesting because of course it translates today too, and you can still work in a quarry and learn about dinosaurs. But then Fred goes home, there's transportation, there's all kinds of things that are still those basic skills. We need to have motor skills, fine motor skills. That's never changed, and humans are always going to have those things very well practiced. And so they have skills. We have the other end of the spectrum here with the Jetsons, which I heard recently that George Jetson's actual birthday was in 2023. So I think it's kind of funny to think about that. So we've got, on the next slide, we've got a little clip of the Jetsons and George.
You gotta have it up here to know how to start these things and stop them and start them again.
If only jobs in the future are going to be pushing one button to start and to stop. I recently had the honor of going to visit one of our local hospitals, TMH, and saw a fleet of their robotic machines that they use for surgeries every day, hundreds of times in a week, and thousands of times over the course of a year. And it's completely amazing. And the way doctors control the instruments looks very much like a game controller. So I think that shift, even, a lot of parents might think, oh my goodness, my child's playing games all the time and they're using these little devices. Well, they're actually building skills for the future. But yeah, so let's move on to the next slide. I don't know if it's going to work yet with the QR code. This is the one where they're going to put in the 3 career words they see.
That one so that we can just do the.
Okay.
I'll just add it to the chat.
Well, if looking at the words here, I know you've seen them probably on social media. Just recognize 3 words, and when you find your 3 words, go ahead and put them in the chat. Well, do you mind reading some of them? I can't see everybody's chat, so I'm just curious.
Sure. So some of the ones that are coming up, we've got communication, technology, performance, trust, technology, environment, interactive learner.
Nice.
We've got analysis, attitude, constructing technology, opportunity, another attitude, responsibility.
These are great.
With communication, opportunities, environment, solutions. I thought I saw, I think that was the next one I saw.
Nice.
Those
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah.
So many good ones. Okay, thanks so much. That was great. I think in my mind too, I'm thinking, all of those words would still pertain no matter what generation that you're in, but certainly the way that we prepare students, it's still going to look different. But everything matters. And I think it's interesting too, if you probably did a scan of any newspaper in any community, then many of those words would probably crop up again and again in the stories that folks are telling and sharing. So, all right, let's carry on. So I mentioned earlier that WFSU, we are a Ready to Learn station. This is an incredibly special designation that we have. We are a handful of stations that is identified by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting in partnership with PBS to work with our United States Department of Education around identified priorities. And content is created by the wonderful, brilliant people at PBS. And then different educational components, PBS stations like WFSU are implementing. And then we share all of that research and data, and it gets combined with the other 30 stations that are also Ready to Learn stations. And from that, everything's polished up and it's then presented to the rest of the United States so they can use it with their classes. The priorities we have for this 5-year grant cycle are functional literacy, critical thinking, world of work knowledge and skills, and always collaboration. Another way we see it is everyday literacy, computational thinking, and world of work. And today we're really focusing on the world of work, but of course, in that world of work, all of the others are very critical pieces of this priority list too. So, next slide. And as I just mentioned, this is how it all kind of works in this system that we operate in. It starts with U.S. Department of Education, through the Corporation of Public Broadcasting, down to Public Broadcasting Service, and then with stations that are out in the field and working with Florida After School, collaborating, sharing content, using our local community, and then sharing all this research and providing it back to the U.S. Department of Education. So it's part of a whole ecosystem that is really quite marvelous, and it refreshes itself really every year and certainly every 5 years as these new priorities emerge. Okay, next slide. And through all of this work, we call it building a learning neighborhood, and all of you are part of it. And next. Some of the content that you have access to right now can be found on our PBS Learning Media site. It's free. Everyone can register, teachers, parents, and even children. There is a student-facing site, so there's content appropriate for pre-K all the way up through high school and beyond. There's even teacher professional development on the site as well. And there's content kits, there are lesson plans, there are images, there are sound bites, the entire collection of the, oh my goodness, what's it called? It's not Kaplan. What's it called? The one that there's the tutorials, the smaller tutorials. I'm having a complete. It begins with a K. Anyways, when I think of it, I will share. But so many different resources from many, many organizations. So the Smithsonian, NASA, different things from NPR, and the list just goes on. And of course, the wealth of public broadcasting station material from the last, sometimes even 50 years. So free, you can create lessons on it, you can research things on it, so visit it, and it's awesome. Okay, next thing. In this round of Ready to Learn and in working with children of all ages, we are honing in on these cycles, the inquiry process, where we observe and notice, ask questions, plan and predict, investigate, collect data, draw conclusions, share ideas, and then the cycle starts again. And this works just as well across any subject a student is being challenged with, that they are defining a problem, imagining a plan, they create, especially if they create collaboratively, they test those things out and they improve them. And all of this too is powered by the final little spoke here, that's informational text, where they need to know how to work procedurally and share the information in a logical sequence. They have to be able to tell stories, and that makes it biographical, and that it's functional, that whatever it is they're working on and they're learning about applies to everyday tasks, or certainly those jobs of the future tasks. Be able to talk about the work they're doing and sharing in. So it's called nonfiction narrative, that you're sticking to the facts and you're presenting those facts in an organized fashion. And that finally leads to the informative and the explanatory, because you may be very well versed in something, but we really need to be able to pass it on to the next person. Next slide. And we're going to jump back to our learning neighborhood. And we're just going to go through the next slides very quickly, because the learning neighborhood will eventually be its own online site. Everyone will have access to it. In the next slides. A learning neighborhood, of course, is a group of partners. So Florida After School is always part of our learning neighborhood. It's working with these community partners to create a learn together theme that empowers both children and their adults, as well as their teachers, in all the spaces that they exist. And it's very intentional that the experiences that we create and gather around really do provide multiple ways for community engagement and really spark a child's curiosity about learning more so that they'll be prepared to join the workforce. Here's just a few of our partners. And I want to highlight the Chamber of Commerce, because this next part, especially with World of Work, we have worked very closely with our Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce, who has worked very closely with the Florida Chamber of Commerce, in that the Florida Chamber of Commerce established a gap map. And it might be linked in this presentation, but you can just Google Florida Gap Map, and it will provide you all kinds of information about how we look at it is where there's some gaps in our community and where children really need extra support. And of course, we have some right here in Tallahassee, and I bet everyone that's going to watch this can identify those same spaces in their own communities. Here in Tallahassee, our chamber created a new program. We could go to the next slide, called the Classroom Connection. And in the next slide too, thanks, Holly. The Classroom Connection has businesses that are in the chamber adopt kindergarten classes, primarily Title I kindergarten classes. So all kinds of different businesses are providing their expertise and sharing it with these 5- and 6-year-olds. The site that we're building will contain resources for all the identified businesses that includes books and lesson plans and interviews with people that are in those careers, and how you can build skills around all of those different options. So children will select a vehicle. That vehicle will take them down a street. Every single street will have different buildings on it. For example, there's a bank showed here. When you click on the bank opens up, there's videos, there's lesson plans, there's age-appropriate books, and we are just going to add to this so much that any business that you can possibly think of, we hope that there will be a corresponding building, and children and their families and teachers can open it up and explore a wide variety of resources. Here is what we have right now that everyone can use, and we just need to share it out. It's an interactive PDF. And you can see here with the banker, the first column are the different programs that are available through PBS Kids that are all free and you can stream them. The second column are the activities, hands-on activities that children can participate in. There are games, apps that also support those learning things. And then there are articles that could get sent home or shared with your teaching team. And then the books, of course. And we're really grateful to Midtown Reader, who put together this comprehensive book list to go with every single industry. And that will all be available for everyone to use. Another resource that is brand new from the world of PBS and Ready to Learn is Jammin' on the Job. And this is a podcast series. They've traveled all over the United States and they have found careers and they sing about them. I believe if we click on it, we can enter the website. Oh, was it not linked? Holly, maybe try.
I don't have access to like click on it itself. You would have to do that.
Okay, let me see what I can do here. Can you see it opening?
Mm-mm.
Okay, shoot. I know.
It might be because of the share function. So we might just want to drop the link to it in the chat, and also when we post it, we can make sure that we have the link available to folks.
That's a great idea. Thank you, Holly. I'm going to see if you can hear it. Doesn't seem to want to play. Okay. All right. Yep. We'll drop the link. I'm excited though. There's actually one that's about prescribed fire and being a fireman that was done locally here in Tallahassee. So make sure you find that one when you're visiting with it. But there's lots of activities to do around it. There is this podcast. They're adding to it all the time about different careers, and there's videos as well. And let's see. And that brings us to Sci Girls. This is another wonderful community partnership here in the Tallahassee area, but there are Sci Girls clubs throughout Florida and across the United States. And this program has been around for about, gosh, almost 20 years. And as Holly mentioned in the beginning with Million Girls Moonshot, this is so perfectly aligned with that initiative. It's amazing. When you go through the portal, there are videos, there are multiple interviews with women scientists from every field imaginable. And there's activities, there's young women that are experimenting and doing all of the things from the inquiry process to figure out how to make something better and then share it and collaborate on this wonderful site. If you're interested in starting a Sci Girls Club, please do. We'll put this link in the chat too. It's Twin Cities PBS that created this wonderful world. And again, new content is created all the time. New girls are brought in, and it is for boys too. Everyone always reminds me, like, we can mention Bill Nye the Science Guy was obviously for boys and girls too, even though he was a science guy. So you guys could be Sci Girls too. And another wonderful resource is with an American Graduate Grant. The American Graduate Grant project started probably about 12 years ago when high school graduation rates had dropped considerably. And the US Department of Education said, help us, please, PBS. And it worked. After the first 5 years of that grant initiative, and all the different programs that were centered around it, like things like business lunches that paired high school students with business professionals, where they got to talk one-on-one. And new internship programs were established around it, and just really putting a spotlight on how we needed to support children, especially as they're juniors and seniors in high school, so that they have a lot of options that don't necessarily include college, but a wide plethora of career choices and skill building. This new round of American Graduate is called Jobs Explained. There are 7 different participating stations. WFSU is one, and our particular topic is healthcare. We have a wonderful staff person who her full-time job is making videos about the medical field and a little bit about civics engagement as well. So we'll put the link in there. She makes different videos. You can find them on YouTube. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. Every single state, every station that has one of these Jobs Explained is taking on a different topic. So there's manufacturing, there's shipping, there is environmental, there are artificial intelligence and robotics. So a plethora of systems you can share with your students, have them research it based on these little videos, and so much information out there being made every single week with this project.
Tasha, I just noticed that I wanted to note that they're also on TikTok, and I actually had I will say my child, but he's not really my child. He is basically a man that actually came across, like, he's my man child. He came across one of the TikTok videos from the American Graduate Jobs Explained and was like, hey, check this out. And so the fact that it can grab the attention of a 17-year-old boy who is not interested in anything except music and working out and making money, it definitely grabbed his attention. And I just thought I'd share that with you.
That has made my day, Holly. It's doing exactly what we had hoped it would. It's grabbing that, that group of kiddos that are watching these TikToks and scrolling through, and the folks that are doing this work like Jory are so entertaining and engaging. They're fast, they're to the point, they're watching, they're finding them, and they're watching them, and they're on, like I said, a plethora of topics. So that was the proof of the performance right there. So thanks so much. This looks like a mixed up slide because it is. Each one of these links, and I don't think we're going to be able to share the link. But again, we can put it in the chat. There is the career project. This is a personality test for career decisions. It is free. And so again, yes, we will share the links to everything. So that's one you might not be aware of. There's another one that is called the Princeton Review, has an amazing site that includes a career quiz. Again, all of these resources, they are free and available to you. They actually have content for grades K through 8 and grades 9th through 12th, graduates and professionals. So it runs the gamut of any kind of career thing. In particular, because, you know, as we saw in the Did You Know video, the average person, by the time they're 38, I think, what did it say? They're going to change jobs 7 times?
It's like 10 to 14.
10 to 14 times. So these resources can be gone back to again and again and again. And even taking the job quizzes that let you know what your interests are, our interests change too. So getting a little refresh on that anytime could be quite beneficial. And it's always fun for kids to do that. They love it. This is another place, the ASA Futurescape site and the ONET Interest Profiler. ONET, again, both free. The ONET has a very comprehensive list of skills. Like so many skills I never even would have thought of. They're on this list. And it tells you if you're interested in a particular career, all the different skills you need to build so that you can be as successful as possible in it. And you have the exact right words to put on your resume, which is, of course, super important. Some of these sites that I'm sharing right now, they also have resume help building, because there are lots of resources and templates, and there's no reason in the world why every child can't start to put together their resume and really think about what they want to do when they grow up. In fact, that was going to be one of our QR code interactive things. If you'll go ahead and put in the chat what you thought you were going to do when you were little, let's say when you're about 6 to 7, what job were you interested in?
You want me to put it?
Sure. Oh, Leah has figured out how to put the Mentimeter in the chat. So as you can, like, I think it's different slides in Mentimeter. You can go through the different slides and answer the questions. That would be awesome. And I promise next time we do a presentation, we will have mastered Mentimeter.
Well, we have 2 in the chat so far. The first
Okay.
one was actually mine, and I wanted to be a rockette. I
We love
wanted to be
that.
a professional dancer. That's what I wanted to be. Another individual said they wanted to be an elementary school teacher. That's all that's popped up so far. They might have gone over to Mentimeter for this, but those are the 2 that landed in the chat for you.
That's great. I'll add mine too. I wanted to be a veterinarian.
Veterinarian, nice.
And an art teacher. And so I do get to use the art teacher skills because that's what I actually went to school for. But I also get to do the veterinarian skills since I have a small zoo at home. So those things that you want to do at 6 and 7, sometimes they pan out. Okay, let's see what other resources we've got for you. Okay, Road Trip Nation. Again, this is fantastic. It is really for middle school, but it can be adjusted for like 4th and 5th graders and all the way up through high school. This project was started with 3 college students who realized they didn't know what they wanted to do when they grew up. They felt that here they were in school and they were taking all these classes that were really fun, but how did it really manifest in getting them the job of their dreams? So they got an old beat up van and Road Trip Nation was born. They traveled across the United States. They interviewed people from all kinds of jobs all over. and recorded that information. So when you visit Road Trip Nation, there is a curriculum. I don't have free access to it. There are lots of free parts to this, but there is a price for if you want to buy the whole curriculum for your after school program. It's fantastic. And every year, another group of college kids is selected and they pile in this van and they have a whole new set of careers that they set out to explore. The program's changed a little bit since COVID, in that students are exploring in their own states. So just like with everything, constant change, right? But all of these wonderful lessons and resources and interviews with people that you'll recognize. I mean, they, artists and filmmakers and chemists and astronauts. Sky's the limit. You can find information from the sources that are the best. And that's our last big resource to share. We saved a little bit of time if there's questions or other topics that we want to visit about. Please catch up with us at WFSU and certainly at Florida After School Inc. Originally, this presentation was supposed to be done in person at our last Florida After School conference. I have no doubts that we will be in person at the next one and may do an updated one of this. And certainly we have many other topics that we are going to share with you, some virtual and then some in person. So follow us and
Awesome
see if you have
questions.
questions.
One of the questions that did pop in and it just came to me individually was thinking about the target audience for each of the resources that you shared. Some of the ones early on, especially like with the neighborhoods, like just talk a little bit about the grades and the ranges for those. I think that would be incredibly helpful. That was the only question that I received personally. And then anybody else who wants to ask a question, feel free to use the chat or raise your hand and you can come off mute.
It's a great question. I'll start off with PBS Learning Media. It truly is for every single grade. It lets you filter. So if you're doing pre-K and kindergarten, you can check those boxes. You can check out what type of media or information you're looking for, everything from a video to a lesson plan to a photograph or an interactive. And there are quite a few resources that are self-paced now. One of the best resources, and I didn't even put a slide about this on, and I should have, is a virtual pre-K program that's actually created down in for our friends at PBT in the Fort Lauderdale area. It's called KidVision, and an actual group of preschool kiddos goes to all different places, everything from visiting the Seminole tribe to the post office or going to the doctor. There's videos, there's activity sheets. It's fantastic. And they create new content for that every year as well with new littles to enjoy it. In the world of PBS, Jammin' on the Job is our latest that actually specifically talks about careers. But the world of work is explored in many of the properties. Eleanor Wonders Why is a very science-based program for children, I would say 7 and under. Eleanor is very curious. She explores everything and she goes to experts around her forest area. Nature Cat is another one, fantastic for environmental science and issues, climate change. That's for, I would say 9 and under. Wildcrats, that resource, I think it's for every age. The Kratt brothers have been doing this work for a very long time, and they bring children on all kinds of adventures across the world and really not only tell the stories about individual animals and how remarkable they are, but the environments that they live in and how some best practices for how people should interact with them and careers that you can get involved in. Because who knows, someone out there that you're teaching may be the next Kratt brother. And then moving up a little bit more, Arthur has so many great resources about different professions as well and puts them in context. I think Arthur's dad is a caterer. Certainly his teacher takes them on all kinds of field trips. They meet other people that are doing remarkable careers. So that's a great one. Again, I know that there's even middle school students that still will sneak a watch of Arthur. And Odd Squad is particularly great for science. It's zany science, clue finding and innovative creating. And all of those things can be found at pbskids.org. There's also a video site and there's apps that partner with them as well that help kids build those skills. For middle school, like we said, Sci Girls, fantastic. Can be brought in as a club, and that's fourth grade up through middle school. And even some high schools would appreciate that learning as well. One thing I want to share is that there is nothing better than having something like Sci Girls and having younger children participate, but having high school students come in and lead a lot of the projects and experiments. That way the high school students get a refresher and it can remind or reactivate those foundational skills that they may not have had currently, where it also provides a lot of support and fun for the younger ones to have an older student working with them. Road Trip Nation, high school and college. And I'm trying to think what the other sites that I just went through quickly that had free resources, they're primarily high school, college as well. But I think there are places in them where kids can start working on their resumes and thinking about the jobs that they would like to learn more about. We had a job fair here last year that was so much fun. We did bring experts in from lots of different careers, and children as young as 3 were making their resumes and filling out the skills that they had and the interests. And we had families come all the way from North Georgia because they felt that it was so important that their children got to visit with people that are working in these jobs, and that's why they're in school, is that they're skill building and they're learning about the world so that they can participate fully. That was probably way more than you needed, Holly, but
No, I
there's
think that
that.
was very, very comprehensive. Thank you. We don't have any other questions in the chat right now. So I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of Florida After School for sharing this. For those that have joined us live or those that are watching this after the live broadcast, we are sharing the links of all the different resources that we shared today in the chat. Will be made available in the kind of the follow-up email and on our YouTube channel. If you just go and read the comments or the description right below the video, you'll be able to access all of those links that Tasha and her team shared. And we also just want to say thank you for joining us. Again, whether you're in person or watching this at home after hours, whatever it might be, these resources for workforce development skills really are going to take our youth from being the Fred Flintstone era to the George Jetson era, and the skills to start exploring those jobs using 21st century platforms instead of the 1800 platforms of face-to-face delivery is truly the way of the future in terms of how kids are accessing resources. So while I love myself a great librarian and those fairs and all of that, kids really are able to learn so much more when they have this right in front of them, or a laptop or a computer or the iPads. And this is providing really engaging curriculum resources. And I have to just stress the word that Tasha said the most, and that was free. While some of the resources she shared do have a cost associated with them, I think it was only once. Everything else that she shared, I started like tallying how many times you said, this is free, this is free, this is free. And I lost count because it was that many times. So I just want to encourage everyone who is with us today or listening that these are resources that you can pull into the work that you're doing. They parallel very, very nicely with an after school setting, with a club setting, with take home homework, with summer programming. All of it is very, very easy to integrate into work that you've done. And if you would like some assistance on how do you integrate some of these, that's exactly what Florida After School is here to help you do with our partnership. So, well, while Shelby is not going to come on the screen being ill today, we do have a program specialist at the Florida After School that are designed specifically to help you guys access not only the resources, understand all what's out there, but to help you also take the guesswork out of it, right? So anybody can Google and find a whole bunch of resources, or a Pinterest page, I'm sure. We vet these resources with providers that we know will provide you the best support for doing the work that you want to do. So we just want to thank you again for joining us for this past hour. And we do want to ask you to give us some feedback. So in the chat right now, I have dropped a link to just a quick feedback form that'll also be down in the comments here on the YouTube video. So to please, after you viewed this, find time to take that quick survey and just give us feedback. It's for us at Florida After School to help continue to provide quality educational opportunities and resources and professional learning for you, as well as for our speakers, so that they know how you liked it. And with that,
I've got two
Yeah.
things to add. One thing I failed to mention is that with the Ready to Learn programs, there is usually a family and community extension that you can invite your families in and use that curriculum so that families are playing and learning together. And that's really for the kindergarten through 8 years old. But again, extended family is welcomed. We usually do about 10 families at once, and we'll have everything from grandmothers to cousins that, they might be 2 years old, and it's the whole family learning together. There's also camps. So there's full camp curriculums that are for free. You can find them on PBS Learning Media with some of the things that I shared. And I did want to do a little plug because Shelby, I believe it's either this week or next week, is doing a curriculum assessment workshop. All of these science-based things, like we're very focused on STEM, because honestly, no matter what career a child is going to pursue as an adult, it's going to involve technology. They're going to have to be proficient readers. They're going to have to be logical. And where was I going with this? So we are collecting research, and it rolls right back into the Million Girls Moonshot and all of these other ways that Florida After School is gathering all of this intelligence from our community and across the state and blending it throughout the United States. So please join us to learn more about assessing these programs and even access to more of them, and more about the Million Girls Moonshot too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tasha. In fact, I love that you made the perfect segue because yes, the training that Tasha is talking about.
Holly, lean up a little closer because you're fading out. Sorry about that.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Okay. So the training that Tasha just mentioned is actually happening this Friday at 10 a.m. The registration link is available on our website, and we'll also, and you probably got it in your email. And then you mentioned family engagement, and that is so crucial. So we're actually very fortunate. We're going to be doing a session on family engagement in STEM on February 8th. So flag that date as well. It'll be at 1 p.m. And we look forward to having you for our future trainings. Thank you, guys. And thank you, Tasha and the WFSU team. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. Back at you. You guys are awesome. Bye.
Bye, everyone.